And we are live. Yes, thank you guys for joining into today's session. Glad you're here. As always, we appreciate you making the time to come and listen and learn with us. I usually start us off. So I usually like to start with just like a rhetoric question, right? So think about it this way. Sorry, what if the future of AI wasn't really controlled just by a few big corporations, right? Maybe Facebook, Meta, maybe you could look at Google, maybe you could look at maybe ChatGPT, right? So what if the future wasn't really controlled by these few big corporations, but just by all of us, right? I'm talking about the aspect of decentralization, right? So by all of us, I mean it's decentralized, it's open, and it's powered by the people. So today we're going to dive deep into just the fundamentals of decentralized AI, and we're going to look at the different aspects just around this topic, look at the difference between decentralized AI and centralized AI, right? What really made us move from centralized AI, basically just looking at the problems with the centralized AI compared to decentralized AI. We'll look at different decentralized AI models, maybe benefits, use cases. So we've prepared like a very diverse presentation that you're going to share with you here with us, so that you can get to learn and just understand the concept of decentralized AI, right? So I hope you're super pumped. I'll be your host today, Mabo Charles. Joining me is Ray Allen. I'd love him to introduce himself, then we can dive into the conversation for today. Yes, Ray Allen.
You just interacted with the model, and I know that model could be ChatGPT. You asked it questions, it responded to you. It even helps you do your assignments and lots of work from time to time. That's what AI is, basically, as far as you know. But there's more to AI. Charles has mentioned that AI is largely controlled by big corporations. But what's the risk of this? Today, we're going to be diving into an interesting topic that is related to AI, specifically on the blockchain side, and that is decentralized AI. I'm Ray Allen, and I'll be taking you through this session. I hope your ears are tuned in. You have your notebooks because this is about to be very interesting. And above everything, I hope you use this knowledge for good. Back to you, Charles.
All right, yeah, thank you, Ray, for that that intro. Where yeah, that was quite catchy. So I'll start us off by just defining a few terms, and before we dive into the presentation today, right? So if you have a question and you're listening to us, whether on Facebook, whether on YouTube, whether on Binance Live, yeah, feel free to leave your questions and we'll answer them. So yeah, AI has been one of the just from a top of mind, has been one of the key trending topics for the better part of 2023, 2022 until now, right? Since the emergence of just ChatGPT, we've seen the emergence of just different AIs, right? From chatbots, right? From image recognition models, from predictive analysis AI solutions, from just self-driving cars such as Tesla, and whatnot. You can maybe give us other examples of these AIs, from speech recognition, where just maybe if I would want to open my phone or have access to my phone, I'll just maybe raise a voice, or rather ask something like Siri, ask voice recognition, or rather speech recognition AI, just to certain commands, and they will be able to just actualize on them, right? So the AI basically, from my point of view, is they just refer to computer systems, right, that perform various tasks, typically uh, that require human intelligence, such as maybe problem solving, uh, learning, maybe reasoning, and maybe just understanding the natural language processing, that's NLP, right? So these systems I use different algorithms, right? They run on a code at the backend, right? So they use different algorithms, or rather data, to recognize different patterns and make decisions just based on these patterns to improve over time. Yeah, just make decisions based on these patterns, right? So I could talk maybe of a model. Let's say I have a T-shirt in some way, a physical T-shirt, just by drawing patterns, or drawing a pattern of these. But this T-shirt, and feeding this information to the AI, it should be able to recognize probably other T-shirts based just on the shape, and based on the different touch points or access points that we've given the model, right? So that's just basically the basic overview of AI, and I've talked about some examples of AI that we've seen in the past, like ChatGPT, that's a chatbot, image recognition AI, right? Where maybe if you have an image and you pass it on the AI, it will be able to recognize the different touch points that you fed into the system. Talked about predictive AI, talked about self-driving cars, and whatnot. So in the context of AI, decentralization just means running AI models on the different distributed networks instead of a centralized server, right? So initially we had centralized AI, where these big corporations, you can name them, yeah, leverage them in the past, but there's been an emergence of just decentralized AI. And how did this come about? So if you look at the pain points that centralized AI models kind of had. That's why we moved to, probably we appreciate decentralized, since it's controlled by the people, right? Centralized AI didn't kind of had data privacy concerns, right? So these AI models basically just require access to a vast amount of user data, posing privacy risks to the end user, right? And also with these systems, there is always a I wouldn't say, there's always an aspect of a system going down, or rather, you can call it like a single point of failure. So with centralized AI models, or rather platforms, they can be vulnerable to just cyber attacks and system failures, where once the central server goes down, means like the entire system is down, right? So yeah, talk about maybe just a disadvantage relating to transparency, right? So here users have no control over how their data is used, right? Uh, your data can be sold maybe to a different client, or can be used for different other different or it can be involved in other different things, right? So yeah, and this can just impact how the AI models make these decisions, right? So you can also talk about just monopoly of power, where these large tech companies dominate AI advancement. They dictate where the future of AI, right? And just creating an unfair advantage to other players in the market. That's why we came up with decentralized AI, which, as I said, refers to just AI models that operate on a blockchain, or rather on a distributed ledger technology. So that's just a brief intro of our topic for today. Let me not talk much, but let's dive into the presentation. So I'll let Ray do a quick presentation to us as we continue with the session. So yeah, Ray, let's move to the next slide.
Thank you for the introduction, Charles. And without further ado, let's dive into some of the things that we'll be talking about today. The first thing we'll be talking about is an introduction to AI and how it has affected different softwares. I'll also explain to you what software is, because I believe some of you might not understand what software is. Then we'll have an overview of how far and wide the AI industry is, or what has happened through the years in the AI industry or how it came to being in itself. Then we'll also look at centralization and decentralization aspect of AI. When Charles was opening this session, he did talk about centralized AI and decentralized AI. We're going to look at the two cases and know the difference between what is central, when do we say AI is centralized, and when do we say AI is decentralized. Once we're done covering that, we're going to look at the fundamental components of AI. What makes AI on blockchain? What are those factors that make AI? Then after that, we're going to look at the components of decentralized AI or AI on blockchain. We're going to look at that factor. And some of those components that we're going to talk about include things like data, compute, and how algorithms run. We're going to to explain what algorithms are. And we're also going to look at what compute is and what data is, and what roles do all those three components play in any AI module. Once we're done with that, we'll talk about the challenges facing the AI industry in the blockchain specifically, and the opportunities that might be available for the future, and how the future looks like for AI on blockchain. Once we're done with that, I hope you guys will be having questions, because if you will be having questions, we'll be ready to answer each and every question that you'll be having for us. Let's move to the introduction part. Next slide, Charles. I'll start by quoting a popular figure in the AI industry. You might know him for NVIDIA. His name is Jensen Huang. If you do not know what NVIDIA is a company that produces chips that are used to run AI models. You can go do more research on what NVIDIA is and what it's all about. It has been, it is an AI leader globally currently. So you can go look into that. Jensen Wang quoted that software is eating the world, but AI is going to eat software. Now that brings us to some jargons that you might not understand. The first one is, what is software? Number two, what is AI? AI in full is artificial intelligence. And in simple terms, or in a layman's language, we can say AI is when a machine displays human-like intelligence. What does human-like intelligence mean? When a machine has the ability respond, the machine has the ability to solve complex problems. When the machine has the ability to, yeah, it's mostly respond, solve complex problems, and then think like a human being, basically. That's a machine displaying human intelligence. And that is what AI is. Anything that is AI related has displayed traits close to those of a human being. Then the second thing we'll have to break down is software. What is software? When we talk of software, we're basically talking of things such as, number one, applications. Your Binance application, that's a software. Your Google app, that's a software. Your Meta application, that's a software. All those are softwares. Now, from his quote, software took the world by storm, because these days, when you want to do anything, you need a software for it. However, he referred to AI eating software. Currently, any software that is in existence is trying to integrate AI as part of it. Now, how did these come about, and how is this likely to affect blockchain? Let's move to the next slide to find out. The first time somebody heard about AI probably was when ChatGPT broke out and everybody was using ChatGPT. Everybody talked about ChatGPT. That was the first time most people could have heard about AI. But how did it come to be? AI is a concept that has been in development for years, but not until recently that AI broke out. And we've seen lots of AI models. By AI models, I mean AI tools or applications that have AI capabilities on them. And this has majorly been driven by huge companies such as number one, we have the X Corporation or formerly Twitter, yeah, the Elon Musk company X. Then we have companies like Google. We have companies like OpenAI. All these companies, and then we have a Chinese company. Its name is not at the top of my fingertips, but its AI model is DeepSeek. All these are AI models that have been developed by such companies. And how does this happen? They heavily need data. By data is just information. They need information, and then with that information, train they can train their AI models to respond in certain ways, to act in certain ways, and even help them think. Basically, that's what happened. Now, the AI industry has grown to the extent that AI is the talk of our day to day life. In case you're building anything, everybody will ask you, are you thinking of integrating AI? That's the first question everybody will ask you. Or in case you're writing, you're doing your work, how did you use AI at your workplace? Those are the kinds of questions you get from time to time. But what does that mean? What does that mean for the AI industry? And where is the AI industry? There's a major challenge with the current AI industry, especially if it's outside blockchain. All these companies that build these large language models, by a large language model, I mean things like ChatGPT, things like Gemini. All these companies that build such models, they require, number one, lots of data information. And that's why your information is very important. Your information can be used to train AI models to work in certain ways, and etc. The first thing they require is lots of information. And then number two thing they require is a lot of compute. Compute is just the power that is used to run these AI models. Those are the major things that they require. And a negative is the fact that all these companies have the huge compute and they have lots of information. Remember, these are the same companies that build your social media platforms like Meta. These are the same companies that build your X platform. These are the same companies that build your Instagram, which means all the information you've been sharing on social media, they have it stored somewhere. And with this information, they've been able to train their AI models in such a way it understands human like behavior and they can respond like human beings, or even in future, we could see them acting like human beings, which would be interesting. But what is the risk of all these? Imagine all that data in the hands of one company. It means they can control everybody. They could create malicious things that might hurt people, or malicious robots with AI capabilities that might hurt human beings. Who knows? Those are some of the risks that come with it. Also, there's a possibility of censoring information. Those are some of the other things that are really scary for lots of people. And that brings us to decentralized AI. Why is decentralized AI important? And why should we think of decentralized AI differently, or even think of it if you've not thought of decentralized AI? Remember, we did talk about centralized AI, and on centralized AI, we talked about all the information being controlled by one party, and that's the big corporation controlling all that information. Also, we did talk about all these huge companies having to censor information or train the AI models on censored information. Remember, I'll just bring you to speed on some of the things that have been happening on social media that is still related. For example, Elon Musk took over Twitter because he wanted to let people speak freely, free speech. Before, information was censored on different platforms like Meta, Instagram. Lots of platforms had lots of censorship on their information. And based on this, we will get, if we're building models based off that, what we'll get is biased models, models that are centered on one thing. Yeah, corrupt models, basically. That's what we'll get out of that. Decentralized AI, on the contrary, number one, it leverages on the blockchain, and it leverages on blockchain for the following things. Number one, transparency, which means everything that goes on, you can easily see it. The blockchain is very transparent. You can always view if it's transactions, if it's activities going on, you can always view it via the blockchain's public ledger. Also, number two is security. Remember us talking about AI models being run. The data center could be one place. The place where information is stored could be one place. Let's say if the information is stored at, let's say, one city called maybe Gaborone. There's lots of data stored in Gaborone, and then a fire occurs in that specific city. It means that all that data will be wiped out. What does that mean? Everything will disappear. And how will those AI models be able to run? Those are some of the risks of having this kind of centralization. Now, for blockchain, that centralization uh, does not exist because data centers are hosted within the blockchain in different nodes in different locations, which means even if one area with a node is destroyed, there are still other nodes that contain the same information. Remember, the information that is published on a blockchain is replicated to anybody who is interacting with that blockchain, which means there are multiple copies of that information, meaning that information is not subject to being tampered with at any particular point. And that's the beauty of it in terms of security. Then another thing, there's also democratization of the blockchain. Meaning, what do we mean by democratization? It means that anybody can access the blockchain, anybody can access that ledger, which is which is great. It's not like the data centers where it's only limited to those large corporations. They're the only ones who can access that data. Then another thing that blockchain encourages that is very important, it encourages a collaborative approach towards building AI, which means I can contribute towards building an AI model. You can contribute, someone else can contribute. For for the centralized AI, you notice that it's only one party building that AI model, and they're collecting all that information by themselves and they're building it all by themselves, which is sounds dystopian, don't it? Well, let's move to the next one. Now, what's the case for decentralized AI? By the case, what are the important things that decentralized AI needs to run? We did talk about data. Data is information, and information is what is used to train an AI model. It's like basically, let me bring you home by talking about a little child. When a child is growing up, once they're born, they do not have any information about anything. And that child will act wherever they can act. But then if you expose them to a certain environment where they can access a certain type of information, that child will grow in a certain type of way. Case in point, think about Tarzan and Mowgli. Okay, not Tarzan. Let's talk about Mowgli. Oh, actually, both of them, because both of them grew up in the jungle. Mowgli is a character. He's a little boy, and he finds himself in the jungle. He grows up in the jungle with a pack of, was it a pack of wolves? Yeah, he grows up with a pack of wolves. He ends up acting like an animal because he grew up in the jungle with a pack of wolves. Tarzan, on the other hand, grew up with with a clan of monkeys. A clan of monkeys. He grew up with monkeys, and then he ended up acting like a monkey because that's the information that he had absorbed. The same way, AI, the AI will act based on the information that it has been fed. It's just like human beings grow based on information that they've been fed, and they are able to reason based off that information as well, and even think based off that information. That's the same way AI models grow, which means they're heavily dependent on data, which is also information. Number two, compute. What is compute? Compute is basically the power that is needed to run and train those particular AI models. An example for a human case is for you to be alive, for you to walk this planet Earth, what you need is you need to drink water, you need to eat a lot of food, and you need to be spiritually aligned in a way for you to grow. Now those are some of the resources that you need in the case of human being. The specific things I've mentioned, things like being spiritually aligned, needing a community, drinking water, eating. Now that's the compute power that you need for you to run as a model. The same way AI models need the compute power, and the compute power is what train helps them train and learn those languages that they need to learn. Then another thing is algorithms. What are algorithms? Algorithms, that word sounds kind of hard, but to break it into simple terms, I'll just say algorithms are kind of, let me say, patterns of things, and then patterns that things run, or it could be a simple case of the simplest form of algorithm could be, you can say, oh, a simple algorithm is like 1 plus 1 equals to 1. That's an algorithm. Or let's say a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a sequence, and that's an algorithm as well. A map could serve as an algorithm depending on the case that it's provided on. Basically, those are what algorithms is. And AI needs algorithm, and this algorithm is comes in very handy for the AI to be able to reason and even to make decisions. You make yourself, you make decisions based on the patterns that you've observed in your life. Let's say if you see someone acting this way, then that way, you're likely to conclude this. That's the same way AI thinks algorithmically and solves different cases or different problems. Next slide. Now we're going to dive into each and every of these individual components of AI, look at the case for the centralized AI and the case for AI on decentralized platform or AI on blockchain. We'd start by centralized AI. When we talked about data, we did mention that centralized AI usually have data centers that could be located in specific locations. And in those data centers, they can store lots of information. If anything happens to the data center, then lots of things will be affected. This takes me back to, it was around the year 2022. The Amazon data center, okay, the Amazon Web Services, the cloud, it went off, and then lots of issues were affected. In fact, the stock market was affected. Lots of tech stocks were affected. Lots of website domains could not run as a result of that. Imagine, just because one thing went off or there was a failure somewhere, everything else was affected. How does that sound? How terrible is that? How weak is such a system? Now, that's it with centralized data storage solutions. And by centralized data storage solutions, I'm referring to things like, number one, there's Google Cloud. If you use your email a lot, particularly if your email is Gmail, Just know you leverage Google Cloud to store your email messages. Then number two, there is AWS. AWS, most people who are hosting website domains use AWS to host their websites. It's one of the platforms for hosting. Also, Google Cloud is used to host websites. It's just a place where you store information. Imagine from time to time, you notice that when your Google Cloud runs out of space, you'll notice that you can't receive emails anymore. You can't send a message anymore. How sad does that sound? And once that happens, you'll have to pay. Most people pay from time to time for their storage space. Is that the case for decentralized storage solutions? Let's just look at it right now. We also have decentralized storage solutions, and in decentralized storage solutions, unlike the centralized storage solutions, it is uh, it is open source, and it's accessible to anyone and everyone. You do not have to pay as much for the space as you have to pay for as you have to pay for Google Drive. Also, for the decentralized storage solutions, if you have excess space which you're not using, you can give it to someone else, and then you'll be able to earn some tokens for sharing the space with someone else. How cool does that sound? You cannot make money out of the space that you're not using, the space you're not using on the centralized solutions like Google Cloud. Do you get to sell your space? Let's say you have 1 GB space and you're only using 500 GB. Can you be able to sell that the remaining about uh, about 500 GB space? You can't be able to do that. But for decentralized solutions, you can be able to share that, and then you'll be able to earn some tokens out of it. How beautiful. But that's not the beauty of it all. The most important thing, the most beautiful thing about decentralized storage solution is the fact that you cannot lose your information in case of anything, because they're not controlled from a central point, which means they can't face things related to single point of failures. They can't face such things. That's a beautiful thing about it. Examples of decentralized storage solutions are like Filecoin. Filecoin is a decentralized storage solution, and on Filecoin, you can earn file tokens for. You can either share your storage space, and then you can earn tokens. You are incentivized to use that platform basically. You can go do more research on Filecoin and how it does operate. We won't cover it in depth here, but that's a much we can be able to deliver to you at the moment. Then there's Aweave. Aweave, it offers you storage, and that's permanent. That's permanent. You just have to pay one time. Remember, if when it comes to Google Cloud, you have to pay monthly, 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 monthly. Imagine if you could pay for the same storage one time, the 1 GB you're paying for many times. Imagine if you could pay for 1 GB of storage one time. How beautiful would that sound? Sounds cool. Yeah. Go ahead and do your research about Aave, Filecoin. Also, you may do research about Google Cloud and that AWS to understand how exactly they do operate. Meanwhile, we'll go to the next presentation. We did talk about compute, and from our mention, we say compute is the power that is needed to train AI modules. However, compute power is very costly. That's the first thing. It's very costly, and you'll find that some places have more compute than they need for nothing. The people who are providing compute power, they have more compute than they need, and they are using it for nothing. Now, what do they do with all this compute? Also, you'll find that compute power is not is centralized. Traditionally, it's centralized in the sense that it's only one entity that has all the compute power, and since they have all the compute power, they can train all the AI models from their place. and have the best AI models. Yeah, basically all that. But for the blockchain, there's a different sort of compute power, which ideally you can rent your compute power if you're not using it. You can rent it to someone else, and then someone else can use it to train a model. How beautiful does that sound? Basically, what you notice is blockchain is for community. Anyone can share compute with another. Anyone can share storage with another. That's the beauty of blockchain. Another thing about compute on blockchain, it's very cheap. Unlike compute, normally compute is very costly. Compute power is very costly, but blockchain and the democratization of compute power makes it cheap for anyone and everyone to access, or let me say for all and sundry to access the compute power. Yeah, that's the other thing that is important for AI. Well, let's move to the next component. Now, the next component, we did talk about algorithms, but how do algorithms run, right? How do algorithms run? Algorithms have usually required lots of human intervention to run them and to work on them. Yeah, that's what they've always needed. And that has to do with lots of research and everything related to that. But then there's on the blockchain, there are projects that do that. They do that, yeah. And one of these projects is Vicenzo, yeah. And what it does, it will encourage lots of people to compete in terms of like when it's solving the algorithms and all that. It's like a competition. Lots of people are doing it individually from their locations, and it's a competition. The first people to come up with those algorithms quick will get an incentive, and that's the token they will get. Remember, on the other hand, it's not people. Okay, the people are not rewarded based on that module. On the other hand, you'll find that it's a couple of people who are working for a certain giant company, and then they're running the algorithms there. Yeah, and let me say it's not fair because that amount of control that the centralized companies do have compared to when everything has taken a decentralized approach. Yeah. So what is the beauty of that? It means that the access to AI and its capabilities has been democratized, meaning it has been opened to everybody. Think of okay. I'd like you to think of these two AI models. There's ChatGPT and then there's DeepSeek AI. When DeepSeek AI came out, it took the world by storm, and that is because of a couple of reasons. First of all, DeepSeek AI could solve complex solutions easily. It was better than it proved to be better than ChatGPT, the paid version of ChatGPT, because it could solve complex solutions easily, and it even had the thinking module, which ChatGPT did not have. And then, other than that, it was free and open source. Open source meaning it's open to everyone. Anyone can build on DeepSeek. That had DeepSeek getting huge critical acclaims from most people who are in the AI industry, just basically because of that, and because of how cheap it was and how easy it was. Not easy it was to use, but rather how cheap it was to use, and how how easily it could solve complex problems. Yeah. Now think of it in that way. If if the process of creating AI algorithms or working the algorithms in AI is open to everyone, we will be able to see such complex models available, like such complex kinds of models available to everyone freely without much spending. Unlike the big tech companies, which will make you spend a lot of money for the complex AI modules. I hope you do understand that. Kindly, guys, remember to leave your questions after this session. In case there's anything that you are not understanding, feel free to leave your question. We will be able to answer your question right after this session. Let's move to the next one. Okay, so what is the future of AI and what could we see come out of AI? And what are some of the benefits of decentralized AI? Number one, I believe this is something we're already seeing. AI driven services. Most softwares use AI today. Even in terms of blockchain, there are decentralized applications that leverage AI today. And we're likely to see more of such happen. Also, with decentralized AI, we're likely to see more people contribute to AI, to creation of AI modules in a way that is much more open to everybody. We're likely to see that. Yeah, and many more things. Now, looking into the benefits of decentralized AI, we can say number one, we did talk about the cost, how decentralized AI reduces the cost of the cost. First of all, the cost of producing AI, I mean, training AI modules. It reduces the cost of that. It reduces the cost of storage of information for AI models, which means overall it reduces the cost of everything. And even in terms of allocating resources, it has made it easier because everybody can contribute. If you look at the case for Bicenzo, everybody can contribute to the model. Also, if you look at render network, and now anybody can lend their compute power if they're not using it easily. That makes decentralized AI easy. I mean, not easy, but cheaper. And then it means that decentralized AI can actually produce better modules in the future, which I'm very happy to see happen. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how it looks like, but I know it's something exciting. Another thing is enhanced security and transparency. We did talk of the public ledger. Everybody knows that, okay, by now, if you've been following this session today, you are aware that the blockchain, everything on the blockchain is visible to anyone because everything about it is public. What does that mean? Transparency. There's lots of transparency. We also talked of blockchain in terms of security and how AI leveraging blockchain can be much more secure. And the point that we alluded to the fact that blockchain does not allow for single points of failure, unlike centralized models. For centralized models, we did mention that if, for example, if we have a data center somewhere in Nicaragua, wherever that is, and then Nicaragua happened to be on fire, it means that data center will be destroyed completely. Whilst on on blockchain, on the other side, there are copies of there are copies of the data on different platforms, which means anybody can access them. And even in terms of nodes, there are different nodes elsewhere that are running for the blockchain, which means this information cannot be easily lost, making it more secure and safer. Other than that, decentralized AI empowers smaller developers and communities. How does it do that exactly? We did talk of, first of all, platforms like Aave. You can easily buy data for, you can easily get data for like one time. You buy it one time, you don't have to buy it again, which is very cheap, if you may ask me. And then also you can always render your idle network, which means this empowers the small developers. it easily empowers them. So, what is the future outlook for the blockchain industry in terms of AI? I'm curious. We'll look into that, and yeah, I'd like Charles to chime in so that we can talk about that. And Charles, I'd also like Charles to tackle the challenges and considerations that we could work on to make decentralized AI better. On to you, Charles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Ray. I think I missed your first question. But yeah, happy to take up on the challenges and just challenges and considerations of, or rather, the future of decentralized AI. So first of all, I will talk about a challenge with regards to yeah, scalability, right? So yeah, there is a blockchain triangle, yeah, where we have security, scalability, and decentralization, where you'd find a chain doesn't really have all these traits, right? If a chain is scalable, it will have like probably a disadvantage or an issue with the one of the key things, maybe decentralization, maybe yeah, security, right? If a chain is secure and it's decentralized, then there is a problem of scalability, right? Which is one of the key things that has just been in the blockchain space for quite some time. That's why we initially had the layer ones. Layer ones, look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum, where we had security, we had decentralization, but scaling these layer ones was quite a problem, right? That really was an issue. That's why we came to, there was an introduction of layer twos with regards to maybe just that you'd find gas fees in Ethereum and Bitcoin are just way above the moon, right? So expensive. So yeah, that led to the introduction of layer twos. From layer twos, these are basically second layers of blockchain, which are built on top of layer one. So view them as just a first layer, then second layer, right? So for layer twos, what they basically do, they were introduced to scale Ethereum, right? Most layer twos are built on Ethereum, apart from Bitcoin. We just introduced the layer twos not long ago, but yeah, layer twos initially were built on initially were introduced just to scale the chain, the particular chain, right? So you'd find layer twos like maybe mention a layer like Celo, mention a layer like what other layer two? Maybe Avalanche. Yeah, just basically different layer twos which are built. They basically what they handle scalability and decentralization, but depend on the security of the layer one. So Ethereum as a layer one offers them security, right? But then built on top of Ethereum, they're able now to capitalize on the decentralization and scaling the particular layer. That's why you'd find layer twos, you'd find maybe other layer twos have different rollups, optimistic or yeah, ZK rollups, right? Where these rollups bundle a lot of transactions together, send them to a layer one just to clear them as one transaction, which makes them super fast and are not really expensive as for layer ones. For layer ones, they just handle one transaction at a go, right? But for layer twos, we have rollups which bundle these transactions together, send them to the layer one, where they are now cleared, which makes them super cheap and super fast compared to layer ones. So one of the challenges is just scalability. So I've talked about scalability. So blockchain networks just need to handle high computational load, which that does affect that. Talk about maybe sorry. Talk about maybe adoption where enterprises are very slow. We've seen just the slowness from shifting from centralized systems or centralized AI to decentralized AI. Case in point, right now, a lot of companies, we see the rise of AI agents. We see a lot of companies just building on top of centralized AIs, right? And yeah, there's been just basically a slow shift from centralized AI to decentralized AI. So that's one of the key challenges that yeah, decentralized AI has been facing. But focusing on the future, look at the future, and just focusing on the future, how we're going to maybe tackle these. Also, one of the key things that really affects new technologies coming into the ecosystem is regulations, right? I talk about just regulations, uncertainties, right? So AI and blockchain regulations are still evolving, since these are new technologies, right, in the market right now. And just uncertainty of these is probably what even makes the slowness of enterprises in adapting or porting from centralized to decentralized AIs, right? So yeah, uh, some of the key things that we are looking out for as key trends that are coming up. We are looking at, maybe for me on my side, I'm looking at just growth in Web3 AI projects, right? Such as Ocean protocols and all those. Looking at how AI is going to be integrated to different DeFi projects. By DeFi, I mean decentralized finance, or by just any other projects. Could be the metaverse, could be decentralized autonomous organizations. Those are DAOs. Just looking at how AI is going to be incorporated to all these projects, and how seeing how this decentralized AI is going to make these projects so efficient. So those are some of the key challenges that I will tackle. Yeah, top of mind, talking about just the regulatory landscape, talk about maybe adoption, yeah, talk about the scalability issues, and just maybe opportunities of future research and collaborations. I'm not sure, Ray, what was the other question, as I maybe move to the next slide, or we are on the last part.
Yeah, any questions? I wonder if the
Okay.
community has any questions. Guys, in
Uh,
case you do have any questions, you may feel free to ask the questions in the chat. And if you're feeling shy and you might not want to type the question in the chat, well, you might write it on our Telegram group. Tell us what you think about AI. What's the future of AI? What are you most excited about when it comes to AI?
and what are
Other
they
than that,
looking up to?
yeah, what they're looking up to. I'd be excited to hear your thoughts on that. And then, other than that, there's one more thing I would love to share with you guys. I'm sure you know about Binance Academy because we do talk about it a lot. And in Binance Academy, there's a platform called Binance Research. All these platforms can be are good sources of information for you in case you would like to learn anything about blockchain, new trends, anything that is happening in the space. It's usually updated right there. What Binance Academy offers you is there are a couple of lessons you can learn from on Binance Academy, lessons about the different aspects of blockchains. If you're interested in building decentralized applications in the blockchain, Binance Academy has a course specific for that. If you're interested in learning about P2P, learning about the fundamentals of blockchain, Binance Academy does offer that. And then there are also product guides. Whatever you'd like, whatever product you'd love to learn about. Let's say you'd love to learn about spot trading. How do you go about spot trading? Binance Academy offers that for you. And it also has a couple of blogs for you to read. And above all, my favorite bit is the research articles that are available on Binance Academy. They are very in depth, very educative. If you want to learn more about this session that we've talked about today, you can go and read one of the latest Binance research articles that talks about AI and its case for blockchain. You can go look into that. Those are the last things I'd love to say as we close this session. I hope you'd go ahead and do your own research further into all these things we've talked about. We also did mention some tokens during this session. I'd like to emphasize that none of that was financial advice. Rather, it was only for the purposes of your education. I hope you did learn from this session, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you for being a lovely community and listening to us. It's been fun being here with you guys, and In conclusion, I'd like to hand over to Charles so that he can close this stage. On to you, Charles.
Yeah, that was quite intriguing, right? Just looking at yeah, the future of decentralization and looking at the future of AI. Yeah, so yeah, guys, as Ray said, head over to Binance Academy. Yeah, we have courses over there that you can just deep dive to learn more about these concepts and just to yeah brainstorm and learn more about these concepts, learn more about blockchain, and even if you are quite conversant, there's always a chance to upskill, right? So head over to Binance Academy, learn about these concepts, and yeah, don't just learn, but also focus on putting these concepts that we talk about each and every day to yeah to work. So just to leave you maybe with a question, a research question, or rather a question that you can always, if you're not part of our community or if you're a part of our community, yeah, you can always come to the community and answer that, or just put up your write-up, right? So this question is basically, how can decentralized AI be applied on real-world problems in your industry? Whatever industry you're in, maybe finance, maybe health, maybe supply chain, just give a brief explanation and suggest a potential blockchain-powered best AI solution, right? So how can decentralized AI be applied to a real-world problem in your industry? If you're not part of any industry, you could just select any industry that you feel you can do this. Put up a write-up, and feel free to post it in our community, any Telegram community. So with that, whatever we said here is not really financial advice, and just seek to do your own research. So wherever you are, let's connect tomorrow for another session. So do have a lovely evening, night, and morning, wherever you are, and do take care. Cheers. Hello.